What's up, brand builder? I'm Bonigala, and welcome to another episode of the Brand Builder Show, where I post 3 videos every week on how to create, launch, build, and market your brand. In today's episode, we talk about the 7 deadly sins that you may be making with your website design. Most websites end up short of reaching their potential. Now, to avoid it, I bring you the most common mistakes with tips on how to avoid them. Now you might ask me, how is that possible? Well, it's like this. The hard task is when you want to get a custom website design that's designed and developed from scratch. It's hard, it's costly, it's time consuming. You need to interact with a remote team. You need to be sure that your demands will be considered. And finally, you need to be sure that your website will not contain stolen digital assets like photos or various design items. Building a website from scratch mostly suits big companies with big budgets and who have the right kind of resources to control, monitor, and oversee the website development process. If you are a small team or if you're a single person entrepreneur, an easy task is when you can get a website template, make some minor adjustments or customizations on that template to your website needs, getting images from a proven source like Unsplash, getting website copy from writers who can write well and who are affordable, and then launching the website. Now, let's see the most frequent mistakes that crop up when you decide to build a website. I'm specifically talking about business websites. Mistake number 1, buying an outdated template that's built for some previous version of a content management system. Mistake number 2, buying a template that does not have the functionalities that you need. Number 3, not setting milestones and deadlines. Number 4, trying to complete everything on your own. Number 5, being 100% sure that you don't need a launch and marketing budget once the website is done. Now, generally, the mistakes or the sins can be listed as 5 awful sins and 2 disgusting sins. Yep, you heard it right. Disgusting. No other word will describe these mistakes. Now, here they come. Let us start with the disgusting mistakes first, and then we go to the awful ones. Disgusting sin number 1. Low site speed. For the last few years, Google has been warning everyone that site speed is extremely important to your website's rankings. Yet, there are lots of website owners who consciously neglect this golden rule. Now, if you don't know how to make a site faster, here are 8 tips that will help you improve your website speed. Tip number 1, improve your hosting plan. Low-priced hosting accounts, as a rule, are shared hosting accounts that have a whole host of problems. So let us say you're following the golden rule of treating your website like a baby and feeding it with quality content to grow and mature. The older it gets, the bigger it becomes. If you think that your website can stay forever on a shared hosting, then you're wrong. Now let us consider an example. When most people register a new hosting account, they go for something like a shared plan. You need to be smarter than that and opt for managed hosting that will deliver more bandwidth, more RAM, and more CPU power. And more importantly, you will not have to share your server's resources with hundreds of other websites. Remember, when it comes to your hosting account, resource sharing is not caring. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Managed or dedicated hosting plans may be very expensive. Yes, that's true. But you could also go for managed hosting that is not entirely dedicated hosting. It is still shared hosting, but the sharing is done with fewer websites on each server. For example, if you go with WP Engine, which is a great hosting platform, their shared and managed hosting is actually relatively has fewer websites on their servers than something like GoDaddy has fewer shared websites on their servers. Tip number 2, be wary of your HTTP requests. So what is an HTTP request? Basically, it's a dialogue between the user's browser and the server where your website is located. It goes something like this. So the browser asks when a page is loading, where's the logo? Then the server responds, okay, here is the image. It's maybe logo.png or whatever it is. Then the browser asks, where are the images for the slider? Then the server responds, okay, here they are. Here is slider number 1, slider 2, slider 3, slider 4, and so on. So there is a back and forth communication between your browser and the server where your website is hosted. And each one is called a round trip. And the longer this dialogue takes, the more HTTP requests there are on your website. Now, pingdom.com is a great tool that will help you find out the number of requests on your website. And you can then try and minimize those requests. There are lots and lots of tips and techniques on minimizing HTTP requests. That's beyond the scope of this video. But I will try and leave links below this show so you could go and check them out. Number 3, put your images on a diet. Being overweight is not just bad for humans, but for websites too. Imagine you've been sitting on a 8,000 calorie diet for about a year. How do you think you will be able to run 100 meters without getting a stroke? The same is true with your website. If you upload original quality images to posts and pages, it will take a whole eternity to load your website. When saving your images for your website, choose a quality levels of 55 to 65%. They will still look good, but their weight is much smaller than compared to the originals. Number 4, treat your WordPress plugins wisely. If you have, or you're going to build a website on WordPress, then don't forget that plugins are the weak spot of every WordPress site. And there's a number of reasons for that. They can and will reduce your website's performance. The more plugins you install, the more likely it is that you will kill your website eventually. To mitigate that risk, here are a few tips. Plugin developers update their products from time to time. Don't forget to update the plugins in your admin panel. Remove plugins that can be replaced with more usable analogs. Stick to time-tested plugins, those who have hundreds of thousands of installations. Be wary of new, untested plugins. Tip number 5, turn on caching for God's sake. There's not much to be said except that you need to have either a great caching plugin installed on your website to help you with improving the performance of your website, giving you total control over your site's cache, or to get a managed WordPress hosting that comes with CDN and caching as part of the framework. Disgusting sin number 2, terrible design. Today's consumers they have come to expect and demand great design for products, for websites, marketing, and everything else. If you're hoping to use your website as your primary marketing tool to generate leads and revenue, then having an old and dated design or an unprofessional one is simply not going to cut it. Set aside enough budget to get a professionally designed website. Okay, now we get to the awful mistakes or sins. Awful sin number 1, being non-responsive. Unfortunately, there are still many website owners who think that being responsive is not really necessary when there are more than 4 billion mobile users in the world. There's a funny thing I discovered recently. I've been using Google Calendar for the last, 6-8 years, and I couldn't even imagine that it is non-responsive. Google Calendar, non-responsive. Even though there are some apps fully integrated with Google Calendar, like the S Planner or Calendar on your phone, still the fact that Google has a service which is not responsive at all, made me wonder. When you build a website, make sure that it is responsive. The template you buy or choose should clearly say that it is responsive. And don't forget to check out its demo on your smartphone before you buy that template. Awful sin number 2, images that make everyone squint. Do you remember that point where I told you about saving images for web quality? I think I need to highlight that once more and talk a little about it. If you take a shortcut and install a plugin like WP Smush, it may make your images look like those videos on YouTube where they film alien ships on the worst cameras possible. Please don't make this mistake. Find a balance between image size and image quality. Awful sin number 3, a logo design that looks like it's been designed by someone who has no clue. Now I know this sounds maybe a bit harsh, but unfortunately there are thousands of websites that have a logo that looks like it was designed by a child that knows how to open and use Photoshop for basic stuff. Invest in getting the right kind of brand identity, and the return on investment will be 1,000-fold. Awful sin number 4, using bad fonts. Be careful with the kind of typography and fonts that you use on your website. These days, you can find awesome commercial fonts at really affordable prices. In fact, there are design marketplaces where you can buy font bundles at ridiculously low prices. So there is no excuse for you to use bad fonts or basic fonts on your website. Awful sin number 5, creating your website with a free website builder. Do you know how many free website builders there are out there? I stopped counting after 35. Here, I'm not referring to the page builders like Visual Composer or Elementor Builder. I'm talking about the SaaS you will get access to when you buy a hosting plan or register on a platform with the free website builder. I'm talking about the free website builder that you get access to when you buy a hosting plan or register on a platform that offers a free website builder. One particular example that comes to mind is the One-on-One's website builder. Now, I've met a lot of people who got stuck there. They bought a hosting account, started building a website. They feel quite comfortable there because such website builders are optimized for non-techies. But when their website grows, moving may be near to impossible, or it's full of pitfalls. The design dates quickly and the website ends up looking crappy. And when you want to move the website, it's going to cost you a lot of time, effort, and money. And sometimes it might even mean that you would have to completely create a new website on a new hosting platform. Now, here are the top reasons why you should not use free website builders. Free website builders may place ads on your website. They may put you in a box. If you register a free website on a hosting platform, you may be restricted from making the customizations that are about to make your website look awesome. You may not be able to export your website. You may have to forget about things like SEO optimization and clean code. The developers or free website builders may not bother with any of those. I hope you found this episode useful. If you have any questions about this episode, please hit me up on Twitter. My handle is @Bonigala. Or leave comments below this video and I will surely respond. And please don't forget to subscribe to the Brand Builder Show channel so that you will be alerted when my next episode comes out. Till the next video, take care.